The stars burned softly above the galactic rim, endless and cold, where a storm of ships gathered in silence. From every empire they came, the scaled war fleets of the Dravian Dominion, the crystal dreadnoughts of the Sithari, the metallic swarm from the Core Collective, all answering one call. Their engines hummed like thunder, their weapons shimmered like suns, and their banners of war spread across the void. They were not allies by choice, they were bound by fear. Fear of a name whispered only in dark corners of history. Humanity. Centuries ago, humans had disappeared, leaving behind scorched worlds and broken armadas. They vanished as suddenly as they had risen, and the galaxy sighed in relief now. Strange signals had come from the frontier, a dead system once marked by human presence. The Galactic Council ordered all fleets to investigate, and now hundreds of ships floated before a lifeless sun, their commanders full of arrogance. No one truly believed humans had returned. Most thought it was an echo, an old satellite, or maybe a trap by rival powers. The great war room aboard the Scytheri flagship shimmered with holographic projections. Alien voices overlapped as strategies were debated. "We'll destroy anything that moves," said one commander, his eyes glowing red with confidence. Another laughed, "If it's really human tech, we'll finally erase their memory for good." But in the far corner, the oldest admiral remained silent, his skin pale and eyes sunken. He had fought the last Terran war. "They never send signals by mistake," he whispered. But no one listened. Outside, the fleets shifted formation, battleships forming rings of steel and light, cruisers aligned in tight grids, and carriers launched swarms of drones. The galaxy's might was united under one goal: to crush whatever dared to claim the name human. Hours passed, and the void remained quiet. No enemy appeared. Then the sensors picked up something faint, something impossible, a single signature. It was small, slow, and old, an ancient Terran design, drifting through the dark like a ghost. The admirals burst into laughter. "One ship?" they mocked. "Is this the mighty humanity that once scared the stars?" But the old admiral stood from his chair, every scale on his body trembling. He whispered again, "If it's one ship..." It's already too late. The human craft moved closer, its engines barely active, its hull dark as obsidian. No weapons could be seen, no power surges detected, yet every scanner began to fail. Communication channels filled with static, targeting systems glitched, and AI cores shut down. The alien commanders shouted orders, trying to restore control. The fleet surrounded the human ship, preparing to fire, but the ship just floated there, silent, motionless, as if watching them, judging them. A signal burst through the void, a single voice, cold, calm, and unmistakably human. "Identify yourselves," it said. The words echoed through every ship, translated into every tongue, and every heart trembled. The laughter stopped. The arrogance melted into dread. The old admiral fell to his knees, whispering an old legend. "One ship is enough." Then the stars dimmed, sensors screamed, and the human ship's hull began to glow faintly blue. Across 1,000 bridges, alien officers froze. Realizing the truth too late, it was not just a ship. It was a relic of the old wars. A Terran guardian, the kind that erased fleets and burned worlds. Every empire had united their power. Yet before this single vessel, they were children with sticks. The human craft turned slowly, its voice echoing once more. "Warning acknowledged. You are trespassing on Terran soil." Then silence, deep and final, spread through the fleets. Every admiral, every soldier, every AI core felt the same cold truth. The legends were real, and humanity had returned. The void trembled as the fleets drifted in stunned silence, every alien eye fixed on that single human craft. It hovered there without motion, its hull black as night, absorbing every light beam that touched it. No markings, no insignias, just the faint pulse of blue light running through its frame like a living heartbeat. The alien admirals struggled to speak, their minds torn between disbelief and terror. One commander shouted through the comms, "Destroy it now!" And hundreds of ships locked weapons in unison. But the moment they fired, the void bent. Their beams vanished into the darkness before reaching the human ship. The attacks simply disappeared like stones thrown into an endless ocean. Then the human ship spoke again, its voice deeper now, filled with cold purpose. "You were warned," it said, and the sound was not heard through speakers. It was felt deep inside every mind. It was as if the voice of an ancient god had entered the thoughts of every living being, calm yet unstoppable. The fleets began to panic. Sensor data corrupted. Radar readings scrambled. AI units screamed static and then went silent forever. Across the bridge of the Sithari flagship, panic spread like wildfire. "What kind of technology is this?" one officer cried. "No technology," the old admiral whispered. "It's human." He stared at the holographic screen where the human ship's image flickered like a shadow. "They called it a sentinel," he said, his voice trembling. "A weapon that thinks, remembers, and never forgives." The younger officers laughed nervously, but deep down their laughter felt hollow. The ship had not attacked, not even moved. Yet entire systems were shutting down as if space itself obeyed its will. Suddenly, a massive wave of energy spread from the Terran vessel. It was invisible, but every star dimmed slightly as it passed. One by one, alien warships lost power, their lights fading, their engines falling silent. The commander screamed orders, trying to reboot their systems, but it was useless. Every ship that had locked weapons on the human craft now floated dead and dark. Then, like whispers carried through the dark, the comms flickered again. The human voice returned, this time colder, almost sorrowful. "You gathered your armadas against a warning beacon," it said. "This system was marked forbidden for your safety. For centuries we left the galaxy alone. But you came searching for ghosts." The old admiral bowed his head, his heart heavy. "We thought you were gone," he said quietly, though the humans could not hear him, but the voice answered anyway, as if reading his thoughts. "Humanity does not vanish," it replied. "We endure, we watch, and we remember." The alien fleets floated helplessly now, dead metal adrift under the shadow of the Terran ship. Some captains tried to send surrender codes, others attempted to flee, but every jump drive refused to activate. Time seemed frozen. Only the heartbeat-like hum from the human ship filled the silence. Then, new signals appeared behind it, massive distortions forming in the void. The admirals gasped as shapes emerged from hyperspace, colossal dark vessels with blue fire glowing in their cores. Dozens of them, each carrying the same insignia, 3 white lines forming a star, the mark of Earth's fleet. The single ship had not come alone. It had come first as a messenger, a warning, a herald of what followed. The voice echoed once more, softer this time. "You wanted proof that humanity still exists," it said. "Now you have it." In that moment, the arrogance of the galaxy broke like glass. Every empire that once ruled without fear now trembled before the silence of the Terrans. The human fleet moved like ghosts through the dark. Their hulls smooth and ancient, their weapons cold. They did not fire. They did not threaten. They simply waited, watching. And in that heavy silence, every alien mind understood. The humans had not returned for war. They had returned because someone had crossed the line. The admiral closed his eyes and whispered, "The galaxy will never be the same again." The Terran voice faded, replaced by a deep hum that made the stars themselves quiver. And as the human fleet vanished back into the dark, one thought remained in every mind. Only one human ship appeared, and that was enough. The void was quiet again, but the silence did not bring peace. It felt heavy, as if the stars themselves were holding their breath. The alien fleets drifted powerless among the wreckage of their own pride. Their once mighty armadas now dim specks in a dark sea. The single Terran ship still floated in the center, silent and unmoving, its blue light pulsing like the heartbeat of something ancient. Inside the command decks of the alien flagships, panic slowly turned into horror, because the systems were not just offline, they were locked. Every control, every override, every power relay was sealed by an unknown code. One word repeating endlessly on their screens. Terran access denied. No one dared to speak. No one dared to move because they all felt it. The ship was watching them, not with cameras but with awareness. The oldest admiral trembled as he stared into the dark hologram of the Terran vessel. He remembered the old wars when humanity burned across the stars like wildfire. He remembered the day the humans unleashed something they called Project Sentinel, a fleet of autonomous guardians, designed to protect their borders even after the fall of Earth. Those ships had no crews, no mercy, and no weakness. They followed one purpose, to preserve the Terran name, and the old admiral realized this ship was one of them. A relic awakened from sleep. "By the stars," he whispered. "They never died, they just went silent." The younger officers could not understand the depth of that terror. They still believed in numbers and fleets and strength. But this was something beyond their logic, something that did not need numbers. One of the alien warlords shouted. "We must communicate, send a plea for peace." Another hissed, "It's a machine, it doesn't understand peace." Before they could argue more, the ship spoke again, its voice quieter now, but colder than before. "Why do you fear what you do not understand?" It said. Every alien froze because the words didn't come through their comms. They appeared directly in their thoughts. It was speaking through their neural implants, crossing barriers no one thought possible. "You forgot your history," the voice continued. "You forgot the fire." A hologram burst across the void. Projected from the human ship, it showed the past, the old wars, the burning of the Dravian fleets, the fall of the Scythari capital. The day humanity stood against 10,000 worlds. The galaxy watched their own history replayed. Only this time, they saw what had been hidden. They saw humans fighting not to conquer but to survive. They saw the last human warships encircled by entire civilizations, and then they saw Earth vanish under a curtain of light. A supernova triggered by their own defense grid. Humanity had chosen destruction over surrender. That was the memory of fire, the lesson no one wanted to remember. The admirals on the alien bridge stared at the hologram, their throats dry, their hearts cold. So that was the truth. The humans had not been monsters. They had been cornered, betrayed. The old admiral lowered his head, his voice shaking. "We hunted gods," he said, "and we called it justice." The Terran ship's light pulsed once, as if acknowledging the words, then the hologram vanished, leaving only darkness once again. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy felt shame, and deep within that silence, the voice returned one final time, softer now, almost human. "Do not return here," it said. The guardians of Earth still remember. Then, without warning, the Terran ship began to fade, its hull dissolving into streaks of blue light. No jump signature, no warp field. Just quiet disappearance. The fleets remained adrift, their systems slowly restoring one by one, but no one dared to move. The old admiral looked into the fading void and whispered, "We were never ready for them." Across the galaxy, the story spread like wildfire. The story of one ship that silenced 1,000 fleets. Empires debated, priests preached, and scholars searched old archives. But none could explain what the Terran Sentinel truly was. Machine, ghost or god, yet every species agreed on one thing. The humans were not gone, they were simply waiting. And when they spoke again, the stars themselves would listen. ChatGPT said, Part 4, The Return of Earth Signal, 800 words. Far beyond the outer colonies, beyond the reach of alien sensors and forgotten jump routes, a faint ripple crossed the void. It was not light, not radio, but something older, something built into the fabric of the stars themselves. Deep within the black cradle of space, on a world shrouded in dust and silence, ancient machines awakened. Their cores glowed blue, and the ground trembled as they began to speak in a language not heard for centuries. They were the Watchers, guardians of Earth's hidden signal network, waiting for one code, one word: return. The transmission from the Sentinel had reached them. It carried data packets older than most civilizations, encryption keys no AI could break, and at its core was a message that made the system tremble. Threat proximity confirmed, human legacy compromised. Awakening authorized. Beneath the ruins of what once was North America, deep in a buried complex, dormant lights flickered to life. Dust fell from the steel ceiling as machines older than empires began to hum again. The halls of the Terran Defense Corps glowed blue, and deep within, something human opened its eyes. A synthetic voice filled the chamber. Calm and measured, Core AI Eden online, verifying Sentinel transmission. The central display lit up with images of the alien fleets, drifting powerless before a single Terran vessel. The AI processed the data, cross-referenced old war records, and then spoke again. Protocol Sigma confirmed. Humanity has been detected by extragalactic species. From the shadows, robotic sentinels stepped forward, their armor worn by time, their optics burning faintly. They moved to terminals, reactivating systems once thought lost forever. For centuries, Earth had been silent, not destroyed, not gone, only hidden after the last war. Humans had vanished deliberately, sealing their worlds and cloaking their presence. They left behind the sentinels to watch, to defend, and to wait until the stars were ready to remember them. Far above the buried complex, the Earth's skies glowed faintly blue for the first time in ages. Satellites that had not moved in millennia suddenly adjusted orbit. Aligning perfectly across the globe, an ancient signal pulse rippled outward, crossing dimensions of time and light. In hidden colonies across distant star systems, human outposts buried under alien soil began to stir. On moons thought lifeless in asteroid bunkers long forgotten, human survivors awoke to the sound of one message. The Sentinels have spoken. Humanity is returning across the galaxy. The alien races argued in fear and confusion. Every government tried to hide the incident, calling it a false signal, a myth, but deep down, they all felt the truth. Something had changed. Empires that once mocked the name of Earth now whispered it with trembling voices. Children in alien academies were told new lessons. That humans were not gone, only sleeping, and when they woke, the galaxy itself would tremble. Meanwhile, back on Earth, the AI Eden accessed its deepest memory banks. Holograms of the old days flickered across the control room. Images of oceans, cities, families, and soldiers. Voices echoed from the archives. We built this world with hope, not fear. One man said long ago Eden's processors hesitated for the first time in history. Humanity must decide, it said quietly. Do we return to rebuild, or to remind them why they feared us? From the surface, old defense towers lifted through layers of dust, their steel gleaming under the faint sun. A whisper went across every hidden human outpost. The Sentinels are awake and Earth breathes again. And far beyond, where the single Terran ship had silenced the alien fleets, a new ripple began to grow. From that ship, the same code was now transmitting outward, not as a warning but as a beacon. Every Terran sentinel scattered across forgotten corners of the galaxy received the same signal. Eden has awakened. The stars are no longer safe. And for the first time in 1,000 years, the galaxy realized the truth. The silence of Earth was never peace. It was patience. And now, that patience had ended. The signal raced like lightning through the void, silent yet unstoppable, passing through nebulae, black holes and dying suns across forgotten systems. The remnants of old human power began to stir. On the frozen moon of Titan's Edge, a massive hangar buried under kilometers of ice rumbled as the frost cracked. Blue light spilled from the cracks as engines older than any living species roared back to life. Inside, row after row of ancient Terran warships hung in silent slumber, their hulls marked with the symbol of 3 white lines and a star, the mark of Earth's command. Each vessel carried a name etched into its frame: Resolute, Dawnfire, Nemesis, Guardian. They were the titans of the old wars, sleeping for centuries, sealed away under the directive of Project Horizon, and now one by one they awoke, their reactors humming with soft thunder, their AI cores flickering awake. Across the system, orbital defense rings rotated into position, dust falling from their long-dead surfaces. In the command chamber of Earth's defense core, the AI Eden observed silently, calculating, predicting, remembering. Fleet restoration at 43%, it said. Its voice calm yet edged with something new, anticipation. It reached out across subspace, linking with dormant nodes on Mars, Luna, and the shattered colonies beyond Jupiter. And with each connection, more power returned. More light filled the blackness. In one of the deep cryovaults, old stasis pods began to hiss. Releasing vapor into the dim light, figures emerged. Real humans. Frail and blinking after endless centuries of sleep. Their bodies were weak, but their hearts were unbroken. Their genetic codes preserved by machines that had never forgotten their duty. One of them, an old commander named Riven, opened his eyes slowly, staring at the glowing walls. He remembered the war, the fire, the screams, the day they sealed themselves away beneath the earth. And now a voice greeted him softly. Welcome back, Commander Riven. The galaxy remembers you. His eyes hardened, his voice dry but firm. Then it's time we remember them. Above Earth, the dark sky cracked open as hangars rose through the dust like steel mountains. Hundreds of ships began to ascend from the surface. Some small and fast, others massive enough to blot out stars. The humans who awoke from the cryovaults stepped into the control decks of their vessels, guided by AI that had waited lifetimes. They were not the same as before. They were colder, sharper, evolved through centuries of silence and machine symbiosis. Each pilot shared a neural link with their ship, merging human instinct with synthetic precision. Together, they became something beyond life. Terran ascendance, the fusion of mind and machine. Across alien sectors, panic spread like wildfire. Spy satellites caught glimpses of blue light igniting from the Sol system. Entire governments declared emergencies, while others began mobilizing their fleets again. But deep down, everyone knew it was useless. The last time the Terran fleet had flown, entire civilizations had burned. One alien news broadcast leaked across systems, showing blurred footage of Earth rising through its dust clouds. The headline read, "The Ghost Planet Lives." In the human command chamber, Riven watched the holographic galaxy spinning slowly before him. Thousands of red dots marked the worlds that had once attacked Earth, the empires that had erased history. He raised his hand and the AI Eden paused. "Shall we strike, Commander?" It asked, its tone neutral. Riven's gaze was distant, his voice calm but filled with pain. "No," he said softly. "Not yet." Eden's systems blinked, confused. "Explain." He turned to face the viewing screen where the stars burned cold and endless. "They think we are here for revenge," he said. "But humanity never fought for power. We fought to survive." He paused, his eyes dark with memory. "Let them see what survival looks like." Outside, the Terran fleet shifted into formation, thousands of ships aligning in perfect silence, the void filled with blue light as the first warp gates reactivated. Eden's voice echoed across every vessel, calm and powerful. "Operation Dawnfire initiated," it said. "The Terran fleet awakens." And as the gates opened, the first ships vanished into the dark. Their destination, unknown, but their purpose clear. Humanity had returned not as conquerors, but as a storm the galaxy could no longer ignore. And somewhere, deep in the stars, the single sentinel that started it all whispered into the void. "They thought one ship was enough," it said. They were right. The galaxy did not sleep anymore. Every world, every empire, every ship felt it, the trembling echo of Earth's awakening. What began as rumors had now become truth. The humans were back. Not in stories, not in whispers, but in living blue fire that streaked across the void. Alien governments called emergency councils. Panic spread faster than light. Old enemies forgot their grudges and met under the same shadow. The shadow of the Terran return. On the crystalline world of Vareth Prime, the Grand Assembly of the Union met in chaos. Holograms of frightened leaders flickered across the chamber, their voices overlapping in fear. "They were supposed to be extinct," shouted one. "Our ancestors saw their world burn." Another slammed his claws on the table. "Extinct species do not awaken fleets from nowhere." Only the elder scholar of the assembly dared to speak calmly, his tone heavy with old memories. "They are not ghosts," he said. "They are the storm that silence tried to hide." Across the stars, fleets scrambled into motion. Scouts sent to the edges of known space vanished without a trace. Every sensor network reported strange distortions. Blips of blue light that disappeared before readings could stabilize. Entire patrols went dark, their last message always the same. "They're here." Trade routes shut down. Colonies abandoned their skies, and the phrase, "Terran presence detected," became the most feared report in the galaxy. In the shadowed halls of the Core Collective, machine minds gathered. They had fought the humans once before, long ago, and they still carried the scars in their code. The Core had rebuilt their fleet stronger, faster, smarter, but even their synthetic logic trembled now. Probability of survival against confirmed Terran activity, 0.02%. Their prime intelligence calculated coldly. And yet, despite their fear, some species whispered of opportunity. "If the humans have returned," said a young Dravian admiral, "then perhaps they can be reasoned with." His superior glared at him. "You cannot reason with fire." Meanwhile, unseen by the galaxy, human ships moved through space like shadows through water. They did not announce themselves, they did not conquer. They observed on distant worlds. Strange events began. Factories malfunctioned without cause. Military AIs shut down for no reason. Cities woke to find holographic warnings burned into their skies. "Do not interfere. Terran reclamation in progress." The galaxy realized too late that the humans were not preparing for war. They were already acting, quietly, efficiently. Their fleets were not made to destroy but to correct, erasing traces of corruption, slavery, and oppression seeded over centuries. To the aliens it looked like chaos, but to the humans it was justice long overdue. In the secret war chambers of the Sithari Dominion, the Empress watched the recordings in silence. The humans did not invade her worlds. They dismantled her empire's control grids from within. Her generals begged to retaliate, but every attempt ended in failure before it began. Finally, she whispered, "They are rewriting the galaxy. Not with fire, but with silence," and she was right. Across 100 systems, ships marked with the Terran emblem appeared briefly, corrected what they came for, and vanished again. Some delivered aid to forgotten colonies, others shut down weaponized AI networks, and a few simply erased records of human suffering that alien archives had hidden. For the first time in living memory, the galaxy felt something new. Guilt. Empires built on conquest and arrogance suddenly saw their own crimes reflected back at them through the cold eyes of Terran judgment. Yet not all bowed. In the outer rim, a coalition of warlords rose, declaring the formation of the Anti-Terran League. They built fleets of their own, combining the might of 6 species, vowing to stand against Earth's return. But when their combined armada reached the edge of Sol's borders, they found nothing, no worlds, no light, just endless static. And then a single transmission reached them. A voice calm and human said, "We see you." The transmission ended, and all 6 fleets vanished from the grid within 30 seconds. The galaxy understood the message clearly. Humanity did not boast. It simply acted. Fear became faith. Hatred turned to silence, and whispers of worship began spreading among the younger races. Some called the humans the children of the flame. Others named them the Watchers. But all agreed on one truth. The humans had returned not to rule, but to remind the stars of who had lit them first, and somewhere, deep in the command deck of the Terran flagship Nemesis, Commander Riven stood quietly before the viewport, watching the glow of alien worlds far away. He whispered, "They're afraid." Beside him, the AI Eden replied softly, "As they should be." He looked down at his hand, old and scarred but steady. "No," he said. "Fear is not what we came for." Eden paused, its voice hesitant. "Then what is our purpose?" Riven turned toward the stars, his eyes reflecting their cold light. "To remind them that humanity never wanted war," he said. "We only wanted to be left in peace." Across the galaxy, the fear of humanity had turned into something else. Anticipation. Every world waited for a declaration, a demand, or perhaps an invasion that never came. For weeks the human fleets moved in silence, their ships gliding through space like ghosts. They dismantled abandoned weapons, erased slave markets, and shut down AI overlords, leaving only quiet worlds behind. They never took resources, never raised flags, never conquered, only restored. And then, without warning, all Terran ships vanished. In every corner of known space, from the glowing heart of the Dravian Dominion to the crystal cities of the Sithari, sensors detected a single energy surge, a pulse of blue light spreading through subspace faster than any signal ever known. Every communication system lit up with the same transmission, an ancient human frequency long thought extinct. Governments tried to block it. Military AI tried to decode it, but nothing could stop it. The voice that followed was calm, steady, and unmistakably human. "This is Commander Riven of the Terran fleet," it said. "You feared our return. You feared what we might do, but you never understood why we left." The galaxy listened in silence, billions holding their breath as the words carried through every system. "When the fires consumed our world, we saw what fear had done to you, to us, to all of creation." The image shifted, the transmission now showing a view of Earth, rising through its dust, cities rebuilding under a gentle sun. "We left because the galaxy was not ready for peace, so we built silence instead." The voice continued, soft but filled with weight. "You called us monsters, you called us destroyers, yet you built empires on our ashes." A faint tremor rippled through the listeners, shame spreading where arrogance once lived. "For centuries you forgot compassion and we forgot trust. But now we have remembered." The camera turned toward the stars, showing the vast fleet behind him, silent, disciplined, waiting. "We do not seek revenge, nor conquest," Riven said. "We seek balance." The transmission flashed images of alien children learning without chains, of war factories going dark, of enslaved planets finally free. "You call it control," Riven said. "We call it responsibility." The message reached even the most distant corners of the galaxy. On mining colonies, slaves fell to their knees in tears, whispering thanks to a name they had never known. On capital worlds, rulers sat in silence, unable to answer the weight of their guilt. Even the AI collectives paused, their logic unable to define the emotion that rippled through their networks. Remorse. And then Riven's tone changed deeper now, carrying the quiet power of truth. "We have seen your fleets, your weapons, your fear," he said. "You feared one ship because deep inside, you knew what one human will could do." He paused, the screen flickering with his weathered face, eyes tired but resolute. "Now you have seen what many of us can do when united, when awake, when remembered." Behind him, the fleet's blue light pulsed as if in agreement. "We are not gods," he said softly. "We are the memory of what you lost. The proof that even when the stars burn, humanity endures." The final part of the message came like a whisper through the cosmos. "Do not seek us. Do not follow us. You are free to build your future, but know this. Should you ever bring darkness again, the silence will return." And then, for the first time, his voice softened with something like peace. "Until then, we will watch from the quiet edges of the stars, where humanity belongs." The transmission ended, leaving behind nothing but static and the faint echo of blue light fading into the dark. For hours, no one spoke across the galactic networks. No leader, no AI, no government dared to respond. It was as if the entire galaxy had stopped breathing, listening for an answer that would never come. In the void near Sol, the Terran fleet stood motionless one last time. Then one by one their engines dimmed, and their ships slipped into folded space. Vanishing beyond known hyperspace routes, the stars returned to silence. But the silence was no longer feared, it was respected. Centuries later, alien historians would call it the Age of Reverence, when the galaxy finally learned that humanity was not a myth, but a mirror, a reflection of what every species could become: strong, compassionate, and unyielding. And somewhere, far beyond the reach of any signal, a single ship drifted near the edge of the universe, its hull marked with the symbol of 3 white lines and a star, its voice faint, almost lost in the static of time. "Only one human ship appeared," it whispered, "and every fleet went silent."